Howdy, howdy. Welcome to another episode of We Talk Sports, presented by WeTV. I'm your host, as always, Dom Siani. Joining me is my co-host, Owen Fleming. And unfortunately, Jacob Pendergraft is not able to make it here. He is feeling a little bit of the Collowy crud. So we wish him well, hope he gets well, and we can't wait to see him for the next episode.
Get better.
Better
Get
Jacob,
better.
indeed. But, of course, another episode of We Talk Sports. And, it was All-Star Weekend, Owen.
It was.
And
It was.
we had a bunch of different, events going on. We had the NBA All-Star and as well as the Foreign Nations Face-Off, first time ever
We did.
for the NHL. And
Yeah, that was very
man,
exciting.
did they struck gold with it.
Well, it started out pretty well with that. The U.S.-Canada game started with 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of gameplay. Which, hockey has fights, but it's pretty rare you see 3 fights right away.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that they had this tournament, it just happened to be right after Canada started booing our anthem and everything.
Absolutely.
It really lined up pretty well for the television ratings, I think. With
The
that
beef
game.
was there,
Yeah, the beef
and
was there.
Did they cook up something?
Yeah.
I was just getting back from the new Captain America movie, and I was like, oh, what's going on? And I was like, oh, there's a hockey game on U.S. versus Canada.
What a patriotic day.
I know. I looked at it and I was like, man, it feels like playoff hockey.
It did. It did. Well, I think it's because the players actually care.
They do.
Unlike a game we'll talk about in a little bit,
Absolutely.
the players have motivation to win because they want to win for their country. They want to prove we're the best players in the world. So
Absolutely.
that definitely worked out a bit better than some all-star formatting. I would
Absolutely.
say.
It felt more hostile, just outright, hockey,
Yeah.
hate, everything, wanting to win that game. I mean, it felt like a Game 7 Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
And, man, what a just fun, in terms of just like a weekend, fun weekend for hockey. And the NHL, they usually have an issue with in terms of like marketing and
Yeah.
everything. But this was like the best idea they've had in a while. And their ratings have shown it. I mean, it's
Yeah,
by far the best All-Star game, I would argue, right now, and gives the fans what they want in terms of hockey.
Yeah. And
That, like, hey, it's a celebration of the game, but it's also keeping it a game. Like, it's a
Yeah.
fun enjoyment.
you gotta win for your country.
Win for your
They
country.
enjoy it. Yeah.
Putting pride on your country works a ton, especially for hockey players. Just absolutely great idea for the NHL, and can't wait for the final between Canada and USA.
Yeah, I mean, the USA, they played pretty well. They beat Canada by 2 goals. They had Jake Gunsell scoring 2 of them. Who I'm not a fan of because he abandoned the Hurricanes last year, but he still scored those goals. So I had to be like, all right, good job,
I
Jake.
know. I wish. I feel mixed because as much as I'm wearing my Cane stuff, I am also a Pens fan.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I
well,
love.
Okay, then you like him.
I miss
yeah.
Gensel a lot, and I know he's. He left, but I was hoping he would stay with the Hurricanes. But
Yeah.
he's definitely a big factor in that. I thought Canada was gonna win it because they have such a deep
They
line.
have McDavid. You would think.
McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby.
Yeah,
I
that's a
mean,
good
come
line.
on, that's a 3-headed monster right there. I can't believe Canada. I think that for the U.S., they just had the grit and they were able to basically pull off a miracle on ice.
Yeah.
If you will.
The only thing that worries me about that final is that Matthew Tkachuk.
Kachuk, yeah.
Kachuk got
Yeah.
injured during the game, so I know they've been like trying to bring like Quinn Hughes back to play, but also someone else has to get injured for that to happen.
Yeah,
So I'm just saying to the guys on the team who are like a little lower on the totem pole, I'd be watching out. I'd be looking out for any like Tanya Harding situation to
I know, I was
happen.
gonna
You don't
say.
want to get taken out for Quinn to come back.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Keep an eye out.
It's gonna be a great final. I can't
Yeah,
wait to see it.
definitely.
See everything. It's it really is the stars, like America having all these different stars. Thinking we couldn't keep up with Canada, but guess what? Here we are. We beat them. It was the first loss actually with Sidney Crosby since 2010, I believe.
On Team Canada.
On Team Canada,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he had that bad turnover that kind of led to one of our goals. So he didn't play the best game.
Well,
but
yeah.
I think Canada in general is in a bit of a crossroads with their team because they have like players like Seth Jarvis who played pretty well for the first part of the tournament, and then they just totally pulled him and put him aside for an older guy on the last game for some reason. It just seems like they don't really know what kind of team they want to be. Like they had Logan Thompson's a Canadian goalie, I believe. He was one of the best goalies in the season so far in the NHL.
Yeah.
The Team Canada didn't want him because they have two of his former coaches coaching the Canada team, and they didn't like him in Vegas. So they were just like, well, we'll take this worst goalie then. We'll take
Man, that's
Jordan Binnington.
Jordan Bennington.
Yeah.
Man, I haven't heard that name in
Yeah.
wow. Like, wasn't he on the Blues?
I believe so. I
Like,
believe
they're
so.
in their.
But like the fact that we're just trying hard to remember him really shows like maybe
Yeah,
they should
they-
have picked that other guy.
I was gonna say they are very thin
Yeah.
there, and yeah.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a battle, for sure. And I mean, such a surprise for this to be kind of like how they do the All-Star game, and it's just a success. I mean, I can't give enough credit to the NHL and how they did this. It was marketed actually pretty well
Yeah, I
considering for
would
their
say so.
standards. And tomorrow night on ESPN, we'll be watching.
Mhm.
So yeah, absolutely. So NHL had a great way to do it. Fun game. We all enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Didn't have to really use skills competition. Gave us what we wanted. We wanted hockey. We didn't really care for the skills stuff. That's usually, hit or miss.
Well,
And
yeah.
we
mean-
enjoyed it. So yeah. But let's move on to kind of the one that there was a format that I was actually interested in. I didn't
Yeah.
really know about the Four Nations until it came closer to All-Star Week.
hmm
We're going to talk about the NBA All-Star, and
Yeah.
man, have the mighty fallen with this.
Never before have I seen a team get disqualified from the skills competition until Chris Paul and Wembanyama tried to game the system.
And it went from being like it would be a funny thing to think about, like, oh,
Yeah.
they got disqualified. Let's hear
Yeah.
what Chris
It's
Paul,
very in character for Chris Paul.
like for
I would
Chris Paul
say.
and,
Yeah.
and Wemby, like let's hear from them. No, the NBA had to make it.
They didn't even let him give an interview. It was just
No.
bizarre. Yeah.
Like that is so.
The skills competition has always been kind of mediocre to
It
me. I
has.
mean, it's kind of just some random plays. I thought the 3-point contest was okay, but I'm biased because I have the
Ye-
doo-doo one jersey on
Yeah.
right now, and even then it wasn't that great because Buddy Hield had like an amazing first round where he almost cleared like a perfect score, and then he just immediately was terrible in the next round, and Tyler won by like default even though he didn't have the best round.
Yeah,
either.
I feel like the 3-point challenge was on the uphill, especially from like when like Steph was in it and a bunch of other like really good shooters.
Yeah.
And I thought that was going to, like, when the dunk contest wasn't doing well, and we'll get onto that soon.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to kind of replace it, considering that the game moved forward into 3-point, and that would be kind of where a lot of people are interested in.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's kind of been in, a stagnant. Like, it's still maybe the better challenge out of all of them, but it's still not the best, like, to get people engaged.
I saw a proposal that I thought was interesting where it was they cut the skills competition
Mhm.
and they put the 3-point contest at halftime of the All-Star game. So instead of all those commercials, you could cut to
That
that,
would
keep
be
some
honestly-
energy up, and then cut back to the game,
That
which
would
I
be
think would make more sense.
That'd be fun, considering that players aren't trying for the game in general.
Yeah, and they aren't really trying for the skills contest that hard either.
I know. They
Yeah.
need it. Like, there has to be some sort of, like, the NBA really has to go back and look at this and really think about what the issue is, because, and we all know, we can all throw, like, saying, like, less commercials, more action.
Yeah.
Like, if the game, it's kind of like what the NFL does, except the NFL, I think, doesn't care as much
The
for
players just don't care.
They
I think
don't.
It's the issue, you know? I mean,
especially and I get, like, they're trying to preserve themselves, not try to get injured on anything, but even then I think it's just because there's just no drive into it. Like, people care more about the in-season tournament than they do the All-Star game.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot. I know that there's more
there's more financial rewards.
financial, and there's more implication in terms of team success, whereas
Yeah.
the All-Star game, not a whole lot, but
It just feels like the All-Star game used to be something that you would see some really fun stuff
Like-
on, like Kobe and Shaq teaming up, throwing some lobs,
like LeBron and Kobe, like
or
during
LeBron
his
and D Wade.
that too,
yeah.
like whenever Kobe was at his last All-Star game, you would see those kind of like,
Yeah,
a lot of people celebrating them. And then like for D Wade and Dirk, whenever they
yeah,
got
that
like,
was an awesome.
like
last
the
game.
legacy, like there was actually good All-Star games before, like these All-Star games. Like 2020 was probably the last like really good.
It just seems since COVID, they've
COVID,
gone
I
down a
know.
lot, and think it's a bunch of factors. The players don't care. The NBA in general is struggling, I think, with marketing as
They
well.
are.
You know,
They're
like not just the All-Star game.
finals,
Yeah,
playoffs.
yeah.
I've seen a lot of people say like they just don't market it the same way they used to, especially like for a playoff game. They were showing I could like whenever you're seeing like on Instagram, you'll see like a
Yeah.
bunch of like reels saying like, man, the NBA ratings are struggling. What they did in 2011, and it's like this like hype up video. And I'm like, they don't do that whole lot. Like, they go to like saying um, like they'll say like today's matchup, the Boston Celtics versus the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
And then they'll do like these weird player highlights that no one cares. It's like watching a Madden simulated
Yeah,
game.
and you know, maybe it'll be different with like, because NBC is gonna start airing the games instead of TNT, and like
I
inside
don't
the
even
NBA
think
is
I don't
gonna
even
move
think
to
it's like
ESPN.
TNT's fault.
No, TNT is the best
I
channel
think
they
it's
got.
really ESPN and
Kendrick Perkins.
and
They have a known
because
basketball
I think if
analyst.
TNT hosted the finals,
Yeah.
peak basketball, it would probably be better.
Well, I do hope that I'm not sure who has the finals next year, but maybe they can have like the inside the NBA.
I think
crew
that's what
do
they're
some
trying to
commentary
do.
on
They're
them.
trying to.
Yeah.
They're not going to do them all the time as like for, like as TNT did, but they're going to have them like for Christmas Day,
Yeah.
All-Star break,
Yeah.
and playoff games and finals, which should be great because
That
the
would be cool.
finals last year, one of the biggest things that, other than like a multitude of problems, one
Yeah.
of the biggest things was, man, did I not care for like halftime reports from
Yeah.
like.
I just kind of turned the TV to something else whenever
I
it's,
literally
like, an
was like
ESPN
talking to my dad,
halftime.
probably like grabbing some pizza or something, because I really did not care about like what Kendrick Perkins has to say and
No.
what Bob Myers for the Warriors had to say too.
Well, sometimes I find Bob Myers interesting because it seems like he's the only one who's like been in the business game, like the front office, compared to some
There's
of
a
those
lot of the
guys.
commentators I'm just
Yeah.
like not a huge fan of in
Yeah.
terms of like Stephen A is cool sometimes, but
I can't do a lot of Stephen A.
No.
Stephen A is best in small doses. If Stephen A is kind of like all around the game, that can get a bit exhausting.
and I think JJ Redick caught wind of that because that's probably why he's like, yeah, I can't stand here and
You
then
get
just
Coach LeBron.
just I'd rather coach than like talk to these people like.
yeah.
And that's the thing. It's supposed to give us a halftime that we enjoy, and that's kind of where the NBA struggle is presentation, and the All-Star game is a factor because
Yeah, definitely.
like everything's there. I mean, jerseys,
Good players.
good players,
Yeah,
good
you
jerseys.
would
I know
think.
like when people were blaming LeBron about like him moving away, and I think he could have handled that better. But
Yeah.
even then, like even LeBron playing, I don't think it mattered most.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice if like he had gotten another alternate in, but I mean,
I'm surprised they didn't have like maybe like
they couldn't throw in like someone from the skills contest.
like even
or-
then or like have somebody on standby
Yeah, yeah.
like just in case. Hey,
Well, they bring in injury replacements. It's just I guess he was just hurt and didn't realize how hurt he was until
Yeah.
he got closer to the game.
I know.
Probably.
It's more like the NBA just being unprepared, and
Yeah.
that's more on them. And it kind of shows you the contrast of like players like the NHL, who has been, in a way slandered for being, not
Kind of the
presenting
third out of the, or not even the
Third,
the
like,
fourth, fifth,
fourth, like
in
like
the league.
like the MLB presenting their World Series and everything.
Yeah,
And a lot of it could just be, not marketing well. But man, did they do hockey right by this format? And the NBA, it's Charles Barkley said it's the players that kind of don't care.
hmm
In a way, yeah, but I feel like it's also the NBA really not making it to the players.
yeah. I mean, I think Adam Silver overall has made some decisions that have hurt the game in the long term. Like the like new CBA they've installed has made like player movement and signings a lot harder.
Yeah.
He hasn't really grown the game. Like David Stern, he had his critics, but I feel like he would do more to develop the game. than
He
Silver
really
did.
was, yeah. Like Stern had a lot of things. Like you could argue that he might have helped a lot of like different, like pushing
He
the
stopped
game.
y'all from getting Chris Paul.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Stern.
Yeah.
But in a way, he definitely made the game like he marketed really well. Like if you want to say the NBA was rigged or hindered, Stern at least understood what would work. Silver has not. And the last time that an NBA game maybe felt like that was possibly 2016.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been some good finals since then, but overall, I think the popularity of the game has kind of fallen a bit
It's
compared to even where it was like a few years ago.
like,
And I
yeah.
I think part of that problem is also like they haven't marketed this new stars like in smaller markets as much as they should.
They hate
They
smaller market
like
teams.
LaMelo is very popular with the kids and fans, but
And
he doesn't get pushed at
you would think
all
they
by
would
the
do
big
something
media.
that they did with like Tracy McGrady
Yeah.
back in like the 90s and early 2000s, but no, they completely just like are not doing anything. Like they're hurting themselves
Yeah.
by just
If
um just not giving the players where they are. Like the NBA compared to like other leagues, this is more star driven than probably any other league,
yeah.
and they aren't focusing on that, and that's really a big issue.
Yeah, if you aren't like a big market or a big contender, you're just not going to get talked about by
And
the league.
and I think the biggest thing that turns off NBA like people as well as like fans in general is just that we kind of understand how the NBA works. There's the good teams that make the playoffs that we know are probably going to make it to the finals or semifinals. And then there's the teams that make the playoffs, but they're probably going to be like swept,
Yeah.
second round exit.
Play in exit.
The last time I think people were genuinely surprised was 21, and that's because a lot of injuries to key stars happened. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why we got the finals of like Bucks, Suns.
I don't think people expected the Heat Nuggets finals either.
I think that was the
recently.
biggest
Yeah.
surprise
Yeah.
for that one, just because that's there. But then that finals became like no one's watching it as
Yeah.
much. Like compared to the Super Bowl, whenever people are like saying, "I'm not gonna watch this,"
Everyone watches the Super Bowl. I mean,
Everybody-
in comparison to the NBA finals,
yes,
at least.
and then just everything. There's a lot of things that we could talk about what the NBA needs to do better at. We'll probably do that maybe for a different episode, but for sure for the All-Star game, I felt no drive for anything.
No passion.
No passion to watch it. Like I turned on the 50th anniversary of the SNL.
Oh yeah, I watched that. Too.
And that was
liked
good.
that.
I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it. Shout out to
Really good
SNL. Great. But
Let's pivot. We're now an SNL recap
yes,
show.
we are. We love SNL,
Yeah.
man. R.I.P. Norm
Rip Norm.
Macdonald.
Yeah.
Love you, man.
Shout out to Norm.
But yeah, it just felt like nothing. No soul, no nothing. And they are right for saying like I don't think getting rid of the All-Star game is the best way to go, but I think adjustments need to be made
Yeah.
and something that makes the game fun. Like promote the skills competitions, enjoy the game, and just
Maybe even offer the players some money
Offer
depending
the-
on
put a
what team
prize.
they
I
win.
mean,
you
what's
know?
stopping
that
you
might
from-
help motivate them.
you're
a
like a
little bit.
billion-dollar
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
Put a prize in there
Yeah.
for players that says, "Hey, if you win this, there's that." Incentives. It's why a lot of people want more incentives for the tournament games.
Yeah.
Like saying that final game should count.
To like
and
motivate them more.
that final game should count to their record,
Yeah.
and that they get a. I heard like if like get a first round pick out of it, which
Yeah.
would be perfect.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be perfect for
Just
the All-Star
team
game.
success.
For the All-Star game, maybe not as much because it's not a regular
Yeah,
season
it
game.
wouldn't be team based. I think.
I would
but
say like the winning team gets this amount of money.
Yeah.
The MVP gets this bonus.
Yeah, they just get a
and
pool.
skill competitions also has this. I know there's probably some stuff.
They get a little trophy.
They get a little trophy, but put some more incentives. Winner gets this amount of money,
Yeah.
and just make it just more better.
Something's just gotta give.
Add some new stuff. Add
Yeah.
some new competitions to go with it. Like there's a bunch of different stuff. The dunk contest, skill competition, and 3-point, they're good. Add some,
Dunk contest is fine, but if it didn't have Mac McClung in
I
it this
know.
year,
And I
they
think
would have been doomed.
they need to give stars more ways to say do the dunk contest.
Yeah.
And give them incentives.
Well, I saw like Giannis and
Ja
and
talking about it,
Aaron
yeah.
Gordon. I think we're talking about. If they come back, that'll be a nice dunk contest next
Yeah.
year. But LeBron said the same thing last year, so I'll believe it when they're all on the court.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like maybe LeBron will give it a try in his final farewell. That would probably be the most LeBron thing.
But
to
also,
do.
he was like, "I have no regrets not doing the dunk contest
Yeah.
this weekend." So
Yeah, I wouldn't blame them. But yeah, it's been interesting for this weekend. And, first Sunday without football, kind of a sad day, but also, a growing day. So, yeah, very interesting week. But that is, in fact, going to do it for today's episode of WeTS. Thank you guys for once again tuning in. And we'll see you guys next time when we talk about the coaches in the NFL. Some of the coaching hires, me and Owen and Jacob will be grading those, kind of like a test for school, just in case. So thank you guys once again for joining, and we'll see you guys next time. Go Cats!
Go Cats, baby.